Beijing became the stage for an extraordinary diplomatic moment today. As the red carpet rolled inside the Great Hall of the People, Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un entered together side by side to underscore the symbolism of this carefully choreographed encounter. The room fell silent as the two men exchanged a firm handshake, their movements tracked by cameras eager to capture every angle. It was more than protocol. It was an image designed to resonate far beyond China's capital. The occasion was not an ordinary meeting. Both leaders arrived in Beijing for a military parade marking the 80th anniversary of Japan's surrender in World War II, an event steeped in history but also in modern geopolitical tension. For China, it was an opportunity to showcase power and commemorate sacrifice. For Russia and North Korea, it was the perfect stage to display solidarity at a time when both nations faced deep estrangement from the West. Before the cameras, Kim Jong-un leaned forward and began speaking. His demeanor was calm but assertive, signaling that his delegation considered this moment vital. For Vladimir Putin, who has leaned on Asian partners since the invasion of Ukraine, the optics were no less important. The handshake, the smiles, the carefully measured words all spoke to a partnership both leaders want the world to acknowledge. Kim recalled the signing of a treaty just last year, a document that formalized cooperation on political, economic and military fronts. Quoting his own words, he declared, "Since the signing of the treaty in June last year, cooperation between our two countries has been remarkably strengthened on multiple fronts." His statement echoed across the hall, both a reminder of past agreements and a signal that this cooperation was entering a deeper phase. He went further, adding, "I think we should make efforts to strengthen our cooperation in various fields and produce results that can contribute to the welfare of the people of both countries." It was a pledge of mutual commitment, framed in the language of peace and prosperity, but understood by analysts as a practical arrangement. Russia seeks ammunition and diplomatic support. North Korea seeks economic relief and international recognition. The meeting in Beijing comes against the backdrop of widening divides between East and West. Since launching its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Russia has faced sweeping sanctions and diplomatic isolation. In that vacuum, Moscow has turned toward partners like North Korea and China to counter Western pressure. For Kim, the relationship offers something he craves: legitimacy. Standing shoulder to shoulder with Putin and appearing at China's parade allows him to elevate North Korea's standing far above the pariah status that has defined its recent history. The timing is deliberate. Both leaders appeared in Beijing as Chinese President Xi Jinping showcased a grand display of military strength. Xi's parade commemorated history, but its message was future-oriented. China is at the center of a multipolar order. By joining the spectacle, Putin and Kim aligned themselves with that vision, sending a message that their partnership is part of a broader bloc challenging US and Western dominance. But this alliance is not symbolic alone. It has real-world consequences. Intelligence reports suggest North Korea has already supplied Russia with artillery shells, drones and short-range missiles, weapons later deployed on the Ukrainian battlefield. In exchange, Moscow has shipped food aid and fuel, while rumors swirl of advanced Russian military technology flowing to Pyongyang, potentially advancing its long-range missile program. These developments have sparked concern far beyond Moscow and Pyongyang. South Korea has strongly condemned arms transfers, warning that North Korean support for Russia's war effort could destabilize the region. US officials accuse both countries of openly violating United Nations resolutions Russia once helped craft but now openly disregards. The growing military pipeline between Pyongyang and Moscow underscores how sanctions regimes are fraying in today's fractured world order. For Putin, who hosted Kim in Moscow only months ago, today's meeting reinforced a crucial image. Despite attempts to isolate him, Russia is not alone. In Beijing, under China's watchful eye, he appeared resilient, a leader with allies who share his defiance of Western pressure. For Kim, the benefits were just as obvious. Appearing beside Putin, attending Xi's parade, he projected strength to his people and relevance to the international stage. Analysts emphasize that Kim's words about the welfare of the people mask a harsher reality. North Korea remains impoverished and cut off from global markets. Food shortages and economic stagnation define daily life, yet aligning with Russia promises a degree of relief. Fuel shipments ease power shortages, grain imports help feed the population. And the symbolism of the partnership reassures his domestic audience that their sacrifices are not in vain. This is not the first time Russia and North Korea have leaned on each other. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union was Pyongyang's patron, providing weapons, energy, and political cover. After the Soviet collapse, that support dwindled, leaving North Korea dependent largely on Beijing. But the embrace of 2025 recalls the earlier days of Moscow-Pyongyang cooperation, only now reshaped by shared vulnerability. Putin faces a grinding war in Europe. Kim faces international isolation. Both leaders see in each other an opportunity. China's role looms large. Hosting Putin and Kim on the anniversary of World War II's end was no accident. For Xi Jinping, it was a chance to position China at the center of a network of leaders who oppose what they view as Western hegemony. The images of Putin and Kim in Beijing underline China's tolerance, perhaps even tacit support, for their partnership. Yet the risks are clear. Japan and South Korea, both close US allies, are responding by boosting defense spending. Washington, too, is doubling down on its Indo-Pacific strategy, reinforcing alliances and conducting joint exercises. The consequences could reshape the security landscape of Northeast Asia. A more confident Pyongyang, armed with Russian technology, could escalate tensions on the Korean peninsula. A sanctioned Moscow, flush with North Korean artillery, could prolong its war in Ukraine, and a Beijing willing to host and platform both leaders signals a world where Western influence is no longer unchallenged. In Beijing today, Kim Jong-un's words carried weight beyond the ceremonial. His declaration that North Korea and Russia should strengthen cooperation was not simply diplomatic courtesy. It was an announcement of intent that their partnership, tested by history and driven by necessity, is entering a new phase. For their supporters, it is a path toward resilience. For their critics, it is a troubling sign of deepening authoritarian cooperation. As the cameras clicked, the two men leaned in again, speaking quietly but with visible ease. Outside the hall, the parade rolled on, with tanks, missiles, and soldiers marching past Tiananmen Square. Inside, the symbolism of a handshake and a few short phrases carried equal weight. The world may debate their motives, but for Putin and Kim, today was a performance of unity. In the months ahead, much will depend on whether their pledges translate into concrete actions. Will more North Korean weapons flow into Ukraine? Will Russia deliver technology that reshapes Pyongyang's missile program? Will China continue to provide cover, or will it eventually calculate that the risks outweigh the rewards? For now, one fact is clear. The image of Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, shoulder to shoulder in Beijing, speaking of cooperation, attending China's parade, stands as a defining moment in the shifting chessboard of global power. The future of that partnership remains uncertain, but the symbolism is unmistakable. In a world of rising tensions, Moscow and Pyongyang are no longer on the margins. They are stepping forward together.